Looks like the weather is going to be pretty calm this weekend. The jetties are holding all sizes of redfish, and offshore, there are tunas and wahoos out deep. The bass and the crappie are deep, trying to avoid the heat. We have all the information you'll need if you're going out on the water here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by Yamaha.
Hello and welcome to another great week. If I can talk, I'm so excited about all the news we have to share. Right here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report, we're your hosts, Captain Rick Murphy, and I'm Jamie Estrada, filling in for Brie. And we have big news because Brie has given birth to little baby boy Leo, and Mama, Daddy, and baby are all doing fantastic. Take a look at him.
Look at those beautiful pictures.
I know. I just want to eat him up. Oh my gosh.
So
now, how big was he, Rick?
All right, so he's like in a tournament, he would be a weight fish, a keeper. 9 pounds, 7 ounces, 21 inches long, and guess what? All natural childbirth, no epidural.
Oh
Brie,
my gosh,
you
she's
are
such a champ.
Certified crazy now for sure.
That's okay though. I cannot wait to get her back here on the show. But right now we got a lot of things to catch up on with like our own little bundle of joy right here at the workbench. Mr. Dave Farrell, how we doing, Dave?
What?
I'm doing really good. I'd get an epidural if I stubbed my toe. I don't understand.
I can't disagree with you.
Thing. I don't understand it.
Well,
all right, guys. Well, we got to circle back around because we got a lot more news to share, right? So let's go ahead and kick things off the right way in the Alvey Reels Lower Coast region with Captain Chad Kinney, who's got a lot of insight on the bite. Let's hear it, Chad.
I'll tell you what, Rick is right on that weather. So if you guys are out there thinking about going, bay fishing, offshore fishing, or your buddy called you on a charter, drop what you're doing and go. It's gonna be on. I got some great reports coming up right now, but definitely get out there. You don't get many windows like this. It's going to be epic. We're going to start out in the inshore. Trout fishing's really picked up out of Port Mansfield, and the redfish action still continues to be really, really good on the lower coast jetties from Port A, Port Mansfield are solid. Talk about the trout. Trout fishing's really picked up out of Mansfield. I think some of the reason is mainly because we've got some really good weather, calmer winds. We get some of that trout green water. Got a lot of bait for them out there, so they're feeding on that bait. Right now, what they're really feeding on is live croaker. So that live croaker, the free line is working the best. We're using a 30-pound Memorial fluorocarbon leader, and we're attaching that to a 5-aught tail hook right now. That 5-aught's working perfectly and sizing it for the bait. Another probably 2-3 weeks like that, you might jump to a 7. For get a good reel combo on that stuff, I love using that 60 or maybe even pushing to an 80 on that Alvey. We'll attach that with good Fenwick light to medium action rod, which is great. You fish those deeper breaks in that 4 to 5 foot of water, some of it even 6 with a little tide being up like that. Work those edges of the deep grass beds, and that's where the trout bite's really been good. And it's been real early also like that. So get in early, that's what they're really going. Also, some of those guts and pop-offs in the North Land Cut are working good. We still down here still have a 17 to 23-inch slot, which is going to be off here in a bit, but right now it is current on that. But those are nice, solid, 3-pound fish plus if you're looking to go out and have some fun. And there's been some bigger ones being released. We've seen some 28s and 30s being released here. But here's a picture of a good, solid limit trout. This buddy of mine, Richard LaFear, they were done by 7:45 in the morning with a limit there.
Nice.
Moving on to redfish action, that's some good stuff. Yeah, I'm telling you, bites going. So redfish action, it's really good along lower coast jetties. We've been talking about it for a while. I'm not trying to beat it up or anything, but it's happening. So to go where the fish are at, that's why you're watching this show. Fishing in calmer conditions and deeper holes and washouts. The Menhaden's working really good. Mullet, live croaker also working well. Also right now, if there's calmer conditions, go to a heavier jig head, a 1/4 ounce, a 3/4 ounce even, eagle claw, and attach it to a fish bite strip. When you do this, I like splitting that strip, little scissors or a knife, split it right down the middle for a little bit, maybe 3/4 away for some better action. I think it's more of a mental thing, but it does work out better. I think it gives a little bit of a wiggle with the scent out there. Bump it off the bottom on those washouts. It'll work really excellent. There's plenty of slot reds and oversized. The key thing in this one is kind of checking the tides and the feeding times when you're out there. It's been kind of an early bite also. And that's when it shuts off, it's like a light switch. Give it 20, 30 minutes afterwards. It's done. It's done. Got a solid, nice redfish that was released. That was Sandra Garza here off Port Mansfield there in the Getaway Lodge. She released that fish right there off the jetties. Moving to offshore, state water snapper fishing is still good, guys. And if you're looking for some yellowfin tuna action, head out deeper to the floater rigs, like Hoover, Perdido, Boom Bang, Nansen. Everything's going. The water's looking good out there. But heading to the state water first, it's going really well. Like I said, look for structure to 50 to 90 feet. There's also a huge man-made structure they've been working on for years. It's the RGV Reef, Rio Grande Valley Reef. It's between pretty much Port Mansfield, South Padre Island. They're setting everything out of South Padre, but ships and containers and a bunch of stuff. It's been producing and holding fish. Use a trocar, eagle claw jig, 1 to 3 ounce, work really good, and attach a fish bite strip on that one also. That one I'll kind of keep it whole, or you can split tail it, but those snapper really attack the heck out of it, and the fish bite's tough, so it works good. Try the bottom or the middle of the water column for the snapper. Remember, state waters is 4 per person, which is great, and a 15-inch minimum, which gets you some really good fish to take home and eat and stuff. With the calmer conditions, and we've been Bam Bam charters and everything else like that, but some buddies of mine, but we've been heading up deep and taking advantage of all this stuff, and the floater rigs is a place to go, get over there, get on an overnight trip. The yellowfin have been biting out there. They're averaging a 40 to 60-pound range. Troll during the day, or even, of course, at the evening there. Get some Islander lures out there. Rig some with ballyhoo and some without. What I like doing, if you're actually targeting the yellowfin, drop those lines further back. Don't do like a marlin spread or anything. Drop them way, way back, farther back, and it seems to get a better bite in the yellowfin. But once it gets dark, you can kind of switch over to some vertical jigging, or if you see the yellowfin start coming up and busting and popping the surface, and jump to a mirror lure top water and walk the dog on there, or throw a popper out there. Right. Makes a great combo, whether spinfish or a battle on an 8500 with a blue carnage jigging rod. That blue carnage rod can handle everything you got. It's awesome. It's got a great grip. It don't slip. It's just perfect when you're fighting those tuna. And then throw over the tuna or busting and they're holding on. You'll see them busting and booming. They might be on flying fish or squid, which is good. But the tuna are deeper, then switch over to a pin 30 to 50 wide Pin International there with a 50-pound blue Momoi mono, and tie an eagle claw live bait hook for a 7 to 9 knot on that. Cut inch 1-inch cubes like blackfin or bonito. Just make sure kind of 1 inch, throw a handful out, drop that right in the middle, float right through there, target some bigger fish. Got a picture of one of our charters there from Bam Bam Fishing. We got loaded up on 46-pound yellowfin, wahoo, and a bunch of blackfin there.
Nice.
Good job, Chad. Thank you for starting us off. We're going to go ahead and get a look at the shallow sport boats, lower hotspots from the lower coast region. Inshore, Port Mansfield and Port Aransas jetties are holding good slot redfish and oversized reds as well. And then offshore, state water snapper fishing is good with blackfin tunas out deeper around the shrimp boats. Head to the deep floater rigs for the yellowfin tuna action.
Nice. Well, right now, let's keep things going along with Johnny Geist giving us all the inside info in the upper fresh region. Take it away, Johnny.
Okay, Jamie, let's start out with the stripers up on Lake Texoma. I checked in with Captain Bill Carey with Striper Express Guide Service, and he reports some outstanding topwater action still going on each morning. Starting at first light, the hungry stripers are chasing up pods of gizzard shad to the surface. They're feeding heavily for about an hour and a half each morning. On the cloudy days, the schooling might last a little longer, but after the topwater action slows down, you have to locate the schools all over and change over to the heavy slab. They're mainly using some large popper lures in silver and bone color, casting directly to the schooling fish. A fast retrieve is working best, and once the striper hones in on the topwater, they try to kill it. The strikes are ferocious, and many times the stripers will knock the lure clean out of the water. Texoma has been way over pool all spring and summer, and this lake is finally getting close to the pool level right now. It's only about 12 inches high. The water temperatures are much cooler than normal this time of year. The high water and the cooler temperatures are a perfect situation for a great topwater bite. There's been some excellent topwater action all summer down by the dam, but now the stripers are moving up the lake some. Captain Bill says they'll stay in that area for about 8 to 12 weeks. Texoma has abundance of bait this year, and the stripers are chasing bait all over the lake. But instead of the huge schools of stripers, there are many of them roaming in small pods of hungry fish, and they force the shad to the top and blow up just about anywhere. You may only get a few fish out of the school before they go down. They show up 100 several yards away. Nothing's more fun than the topwater fishing action, but be careful on your cast, setting the hook. Don't hook yourself or your partner. Once the morning topwater action's over, it's time to go to your electronics, locate where the stripers are holding. Use your side imaging electronics to find in these schools. Use an ounce or better larger slab for the jig to the fish. Captain Bill says they sometimes even use a 2-ounce slab. Here's a couple of pictures sent in by Striper Express. Now that's some good sized fish, Rick, on topwater baits for sure. Okay, Captain Bill Carey, give him a call if you want to get in some of that great topwater bite, and the game will be on. Let's go over to bass on Lake Fork. The annual Bob Seeley Big Bash is on Lake Fork in less than a month. This year on September 17th, 18th, and 19th, for more than $500,000 in cash and prizes will be given away to lucky anglers who catch the largest bass each hour. Each day of the event, 15 lucky anglers who catch the largest bass will share in the $184,000 to be paid out 7 hours a day. This tournament's the largest event of the year on Fork and usually draw over 3,000 anglers. Many anglers start over on fishing for this event around this time, and they start pre-fishing and trying to find the winning fish. Here's a couple of suggestions for anglers coming to fish the event. First, you need to develop a strategy or a plan to focus on what size bass you want to target. Remember that the slot length is only, you have to be under 16-inch mark to weigh in, or you got to be over 24 inches or greater for the over. Most anglers will target the undersized bass, hoping winning one of the large hourly checks during the event. They do this by using the smaller lures or finesse-type techniques. Drop shots, shaky heads, wacky worms are good examples of under-the-slot-type lures and techniques. It doesn't mean the largest bass of the event cannot be caught on these types of lures, but they usually are best for catching the smaller numbers of bass. Some anglers are only interested in catching the largest fish of the event, and these anglers use fewer type of techniques and generally stay with the same bait the whole event. There's a lot of luck in catching a bass over 24 inches on Fork, but usually anglers use larger lures and known big bass baits to target these overs. Heavy football jigs, big worms, big swim baits, and big topwaters and cranks are usually the way to catch and target these over-the-slot fish on Fork. Once you determine which approach you want to take, next strategy is decide what type of water you plan to fish. Some anglers only fish that deep water over 15 foot. Some of them want to fish shallow and under. Both unders and overs live in all depths of the water, but mostly the slot fish come out of the shallower water columns. So once you think over these two strategies, it's time to focus on where to fish, and this is when a guide or local angler can help with a plan of attack. Here's a picture of last year's Big Bass Splash event, Danny Dulude. He won last year's event with his 8.80 bass. Nice picture there. Earlier this year, an angler weighed in a bass under 15 pounds in a bass tournament, and I'll predict he'll take a bass over 10 pounds to win this year.
All right, thank you so
Come
much.
on out to Fork and start looking for a big bass bite.
All right, thanks, Johnny. We're going to go and take a look at the hot spots from the Upper Fresh region. He says Lake Texoma stripers using poppers early on the surface, seeing fish, and then go heavy slabs once the fish go down. And then Lake Fork, the bass are biting, being caught both in shallow and in deep. Swim baits and frogs early, and then switch over to a Carolina rig plastic on the deep structure.
All right, guys, so we're moving on over to the Fish Bites Upper Coast region next. Plus, Dave has a lot going on over at the workbench for rigs and techniques. Right, Dave?
I do. I certainly do. We're going to be talking about catching some of those giant bass that Mr. Geis was just talking about.
Giant bass?
Using big worms.
Again with the big words. We'll be right back, folks.
Welcome back to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Dave, we're going to be talking about big worms. Looks like some Carolina rig, deep water pattern in Texas.
Yeah, it's Texas summertime, and August, it doesn't really get much hotter.
Right.
Hopefully it won't get any hotter. We've reached our peak of the heat, hopefully. And what we're trying to do, the bass know it. They get a little dormant. They like to go into that deeper water. They look for temperatures that are comfortable for them. They've been chasing shiners and everything else, for all spring and through the start of the summer. So now they're pretty much just wanting to maintain. They're just chilling. And what they'll do is they'll find that deep water between 20 and 30 feet, and they'll be out there in that deep water, hugging the bottom usually, a ledge or a brush pile, and they'll be down there deep. And what we need to do to get down there is, the best thing is, according to Mr. Scott Martin, is a big Carolina rig with a big worm on it. And the first one we got here, we got like a Cinco type bait on there. Mm-hmm. He doesn't want you to use a worm that has a whole lot of action. Maybe a ribbon tail would be about as much action as you'd want to put on it, because like I said, again, these fish aren't really chasing stuff. It's pretty much kind of like a dead stick situation. You want to cast these out to 30 feet, into the 30 feet, you're sitting in 20. cast it out to the 30 feet area, and then you want to let it go sink all the way down to the bottom, and then just slowly drag it back.
Right.
So, you really want to start on those nice ledges, and because they're less aggressive, you want to use those big fat worms. And the fat job, the big tap out, the RSB worm, that's the redneck spinnerbait worm. It doesn't have to be moved fast. You can reel that thing fast if you want to, but it also works great in this instance, down close to the bottom. When you're using a good braided line, you can feel every tick and tap. But
So Dave, let me ask you about that. I see these two parts here. What are we doing here?
Those are little sinker stoppers. I just found these little Carolina keepers, and what you do is you smash them down, and it opens up a hole in the middle.
Right.
You put your bait, you put your line
through there.
Yeah, and you can move, you can adjust.
And you
those
can
things.
adjust this up or down. So
correct.
if you go to a different pattern, or you want to go a little shallower, or a little deeper.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a 1 ounce weight, so this is about as heavy as you'd want to go. You're fishing really deep water, get it down there really quick. 3/4 ounce is probably
cool,
ideal, but you can go down to a 1/2 ounce, or even smaller than that if you want to. A good 3 or 4 feet fluorocarbon leader, 20-pound test, and a nice big 5/0.
So this is how this looks, correct?
Yeah.
So if you go a little wider here, what ends up happening is that you'll see the weight will be down here on the bottom, and because of it floats, the worm wants to float. So this is how it's going to be. And so as you drag this along, this little dude is off of the bottom, not hanging up on the rocks.
Correct. And what you want to do is you want to pull it with the rod. You want to get it out to where let it sink, and you want to feel it hit the bottom.
Right.
And you can tell what kind of bottom you're using because of the Carolina rig. That weight, you can feel it. If it ticks on the rocks or bounces through the brush pile, you can feel it, and it gives you a really good visualization of what's down there, and that's what's so good about that Carolina rig. And what you'll do is you'll get it down there on the bottom, and you'll just pull it with the rod, and then take up the slack with the reel. Pull it with the rod, take up the slack with the reel. That way, you're in constant contact, If you try to lift it and then wind down real quick, you're not in contact for that little bit of time. And if you've got total contact from when you're just pulling it slowly, you'll feel it when he gets ticked. So, it's not all the time a big blast on these things, especially during the summer. He's just going to come up and just suck it, and then you're going to feel that tick, and that's when you reel up and set the hook. So,
I like it.
Yeah, and you want to use a nice long rod, medium heavy, something that's pretty stiff.
Like this Abu Veritas.
Correct. You want something that's a little stiff so it's going to set the hook in that deep water because you're a long way away. You're 30 feet away.
Good job, man.
Hey,
it doesn't seem like we have enough. I think you need to go fish the big bass splash with Johnny.
I'll do
sponsor it.
All right.
Why not?
Sounds like
I'm
a good
in
idea.
too, right?
Jamie, if you want to go. Well, you got to
Why
watch
not?
Jamie, though. She might commit and then stand you up. That's what she did to me
Silent
yesterday.
Killer. Well, guys, if you're wanting to find out what's going on in the Upper Coast region, Captain Carl Weston is waiting to fill us in on what to watch out for this week. Carl, let us in on all the action.
Hi, Jamie and Rick. Yeah, we're starting out on trout over in Trinity Bay, and there's been really nice fish this past week. The morning time bite has been the best to target the bigger trout. The water temperature is up with these days, like they just talked about getting hotter. So that old saying, the early bird gets the worm. In this case, the big trout gets the shrimp on a popping cork in the morning. And you can always free line live finger mold or small shad right now with a small eagle claw live bait hook. Pay attention. If these fish are acting skittish, you might have to switch it up. What we'll do is we'll go to like a 20-pound fluorocarbon. Diamond makes a great 20-pound fluorocarbon on about a 1 ounce slip rig. You can tip this with live bait. You can tip it with fish bites. Shrimp flavor has been a proven tactic on these fish. Today we have a picture of Manny with a nice stringer of trout. And rolling right into redfish over to West Galveston Bay, all the way up to Sabine Pass, the big reds are really biting, folks. The Galveston jetties might be your go-to spot here in the Upper Coast this week if you want to catch big redfish. We're getting reports from the captains. They're catching their limits of bull reds on live shad right now. So look for the birds diving on these bait balls, and you will find the fish. the reds and the small sharks are targeting bait from the beachfront all the way back into the bays. And this is where, you know, if you want to break out that pen spinner, either rig it with live bait or your best topwater. The past few weeks, I know I've harped on this lure, and I can't get off of that Berkeley Chapo 90, and the Mirror Meridine and Shad is just hot, and it's doing the job. We have a picture today of a young lady with a nice red, and moving right over to our home away from home offshore, Rick. With the red snapper season closed in federal waters, we have been targeting vermilion snapper, otherwise known as beeliners. These are the smaller cousins of the big red snapper. They're just as good to eat. They're great fish to put young anglers on. The bag limit is higher, so you can keep them more active. And, you know, you can limit out on these and catch a nice mess of fish. They're up to a pound, pound and a half, 3 pounds. On light tackle, this is great, like I said, for younger anglers. My Garmin will always show these schools. If you're looking in the same areas that you fish for reds, you'll find these fish schooled up about 10 to 20 feet off the bottom, guys, and they'll look like an umbrella over a rock or structure, just a little red cloud on my Garmin. You know, downsize about a 3/0 hook, add a glow bead to your rig. I usually rig with about a 30-pound leader, and I tip the hooks with small strips of squid. It's also fish bite, and the squid flavor has worked as well. Sometimes you'll catch 2 or 3 of these fish at a time, and 3 or 4 fish on one piece of bait. We got a picture of a little beeliner here with myself. And then rolling over to Spanish mackerels, a fish we don't talk a whole lot about, but they're pretty thick right now with these warm temperatures, Rick. And they've moved into the upper coast in the past few weeks, and this species is so much fun to chase and throw at. We run around the boat, chase the gulls, chase the fish. Everybody can get to casting. It's a lot of fun. They're a pretty good food fare, fun to fight. You look for the gulls over the bait, and you'll find the Spanish breaking top water. The best tactic is try to get out in front of them. I kick the boat in neutral, let the school come my way. Tossing spoons is a great idea. A gold spoon. Let it sink for about a count of 5 and burn it back to you, and they'll catch you on the way back up. And, you know, these are smaller species than the king mackerel, like we said. And so small jig swim baits work very well with these species. Just remember to add about a 12 to 16-inch piece of wire to your setup, because these little guys have sharp teeth just like the big kings, and they'll cut you right off, guys.
All right, thank you so much, Carl. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the R&R tackle hotspots from the Upper Coast region. Carl says the bull reds along the rock jetties throwing topwater baits such as the Berkeley Chapo 90 or a mirror lure in the broken glass. And then offshore, Spanish mackerels chasing bait schools in 50 feet of water using your pen spinner rig with a small gold spoon, Jamie.
Oh, I'm excited to get out there this weekend now. Well, right now, it's your weekly reminder that if you would like a chance to win this beautiful 1952 Chevy 3100 Hot Rod, all you have to do is purchase raffle tickets at ccaflorida.org/hot rod. The winner will be chosen at the end of September, so get over there and enter quickly. Good luck. Now, we have a lot more to cover in the Lower Fresh and Startron Middle Fresh region, so don't move an inch because we're going to be right back here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Welcome back, guys, for all you need to get hooked up while fishing in Texas. We are headed down to the Lower Fresh region next with Matt Reed. Matt, why don't you tell us what's popping this weekend?
All right, Jamie, let's get this thing rolling. I got a whole bunch of ground to cover. Olin Jensen sent me a report from Lake Amistad. The water is beautifully clear, as nearly always. Beautiful lake. Water temperature is 82, and we're at 47 feet low right now, which most of our lower lakes are. The bass have been good on the edges of the hydrilla at 12 to 15 foot range with Texas rig worms and crawl worms. That's been the best bait around the grass. Drop shots and Ned rigs have caught a ton of fish on the main lake points and the secondary points. So get out to Lake Amistad, they're biting pretty good. Mike Bates sent me a report from Choke Canyon. Early morning, there's still a top water and a moving bait bite up until about 9 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock. It may last a little longer if you have some clouds. But after that, when the sun gets high, you want to get your braided line, big weight, piece of plastic out, and start punching through the hydrilla mats.
the grass is topped out and gotten real thick, get you a 1 ounce weight and some soft plastics, drop it through the mat and under that canopy under the hydrilla, and that's where you're going to catch your big ones. If it's cloudy, they'll be a little closer to the edge. If it's a real bright sunny day, they're moved further back up under the mat. Brian Cotter sent reports from the Austin area. Lake Buchanan is fishing well. Let's catching some decent ones early on the shallow rock piles in that 5 to 10 foot range on crankbaits. You're also catching some on swim baits and spinner baits in that same area. A little later, pick up your jig, move out to the deeper rocks. I want to throw your football jigs in those areas, and that's the best way to catch a big one. You also can pick up a good fish on a deep crankbait in those same areas. Lake Decker is starting to pump out some nice ones. They're schooling early in the discharge. You want to get there right at daylight because you want to beat the crowd, and they start schooling real soon after daylight. Biting clear top waters and small swim baits. Later in the day, you want to move out on the main lake to the hydrilla, work the inside and the outside edges of the grass by flipping your soft plastic stick baits and crawl worms. And never hesitate to throw a frog over that mat. You might get a great big one to come up and been busted. Lake Bastrop's got a lot of the same thing going on. Schooling activity and the discharge early. Later in the day, you want to move out on the main lake and look for the school fish. There's tons of them right now. You want to throw a clear top water or small straight tail swim bait. One of the keys is to move the bait real fast so they don't get a good look at it. Those school fish tend to commit to it better if it's going real fast and they don't, they can't ID exactly what they're getting. After that slows down, move up to the grass shallow, throw a frog or around the grass patches or flip a fluke up in that shallow water to catch you plenty of fish. Greg Boyd, report from Fayette County, the fishing been better this week. There's just some shallow fish on that chrome rattle trap. Also, shad color swim jigs around that shallow vegetation. But the best bite's definitely in 14 to 18 foot out on the main lake points and drops, on drop shots and shaky heads. Green pumpkin candy has been the best color for your soft plastics. Thermocline out there is about 15 to 20 foot. You want to stay just above it. Lake Somerville, same thing. Real early is the biggest key there. Shallow rocky banks with small crankbaits. Later in the day, move out 12 to 15 foot on the brush piles to catch you some good ones. Got 2 pictures there. We got a couple of kids in my boat at Lake Amistad both of them caught one at the same time. That's a lot of fun. Other one is a big old choke canyon fish from Mike Bates' boat. Wow,
nice. Tell us about the crappies, Matt.
All right, the county falcon, the crappie are biting really well. Seems like they always do. The man-made brush piles are the key. That 15 to 20 foot zone. Get you an 1/8 ounce jig head and a soft plastic trailer, red and chartreuse, monkey milk, Jumbo chartreuse. Those are my main colors. Sit over the top of the brush, drop down to them, and it's pretty easy to catch a limit. Just always remember to hold your bait just above the crappie. They will not go down to bite it. They'll come up and get it.
All right, bud.
Got a picture there of a youngster in my boat with just all smiles with a big old crappie in his hand.
I appreciate you sending those pictures of those kids with those smiles, bud. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Fiber Tech hotspots from the Lower Frisch region. Matt says Lake Amistad bass are good on the edges of the vegetation in 12 to 15 feet of water. The Texas rig worms and crawls are the most successful around that grass, and then drop shots and Ned rigs are the primary and secondary points are adding great numbers.
Nice, good stuff.
Yeah, man.
Well, next up is our Startron Middle Fresh region and our buddy Matt Loescher, who's going to tell us where and how we can catch them up this weekend. What you got for us, Matt?
Well, Jamie, got a little bit better report this week. Things have kind of picked up, at least for one of us here in the Middle Fresh region. It's been kind of brutal on the bass lately. They've been a little stingy, but I guess they're finally breaking down and biting a little bit. I'm going to start with a report from Mr. Thurman Selman with Bass Specialty Guide Service up there at Richland Chambers. he was happy to tell me that a new bite has developed for him on Richland Chambers this week. He says that the bass there are beginning to bite frogs in the pads. And, you know, that's always the kind of explosive action that we all love. It's all of our favorite way to catch them. And so it's really fun when that works out. I'm glad that's happening up there. He also mentioned that the Bass Assassin Fat Job is producing some fish around those lily pads too. So if you get around those pads and they're not biting the frog, you might want to try that Fat Job. It's a great way to catch them when they're a little more lethargic. Now, the bigger fish are still coming from the offshore structure on a Carolina rig. And that Fat Job, once again, is a great bait on that Carolina rig as well. It's just an awesome bait when the fish are, you know, in that summertime funk that they're in right now. And as far as conditions, for a little update, he says that the water up there at Richland Chambers is at pool level, and the temperature is still hanging in the mid-80s. Now, down here at Toledo Bend, the fish haven't moved much. They're still sitting in about 10 to 20 foot of water for the most part. You may find a few shallower than that, but most of the ones you find shallower are going to be really small right now. So focus on the flats and the drops that are in that 10 to 20 foot range with a crankbait or a Carolina rig for your better quality fish. Also, keep an eye out for those bass schooling on the surface because they're doing a lot of schooling right now, and get to them as quickly as you can and throw a topwater walking bait in there, and you should be able to fire them up and catch you a few real fast. Now, as far as the Toledo Bend water level conditions, the water's clean, and the level continues to fall slowly. It's been really hot lately. We've had very little rain, so the water level's kind of hanging at its typical level for this time of the year. It's at about 169.5 right now, just a little bit below that. But be careful when you're idling around right now. As soon as you get out of the boat lanes, you're going to want to really idle slow because a lot of that timber is just below the surface right now at this water level. Once the water level gets down a few more inches, you'll be able to see a lot more of those stumps. But for now, use a little extra caution because it's a little harder to navigate. Now, over on Sam Rayburn, once again, the water level continues to come down. Kind of the same story, not much rain, and they're generating a little bit over there. It's now below pool level for the first time in a while, and the fish over there are schooling a lot as well. You're going to want to look for them out on the ends of the long ridges in 10 to 20 foot, and utilize those Berkeley topwater walking bait, crankbaits, or even a Carolina rig underneath them to catch them, especially the bigger fish for that Carolina rig. Now, switching over to the crappie, they're in kind of a holding pattern right now for the most part here in the Middle Fresh region, and shade is the key word here. They're all about hiding that shade right now with this hot summer heat. On Toledo Bend, you're going to willing to look for them in 15 to 30 foot of water around the tallest timber and on the shady bridge pile. They haven't been feeding that much during the day this week because that full moon we're just coming off of. So if you're a night fisherman, now's a great time to be out there enjoying that better bite in the cool of the night. But if you're like me and you mostly fish during the day, then you're just going to have to be a little more patient and sneaky. You can still catch them, and once you've located them, just use that shade to your advantage because they're going to get in that shade, whether it's the shade of the boat, the shade of the tree you're fishing, or the bridge piling, or whatever it may be. The fish want to get in that shade, so fish on the edges of it with a panfish assassin jig or a live minnow, and you'll be in business. And I got a photo here for you of a group of guys on a bachelor party. Nice table full of crappie. The numbers have been a little lower lately, but as you can see, we caught a great mess of them that day and had some pretty big ones too. You know, you got good size right now, kind of compensating for the lower numbers.
If that's a little lower numbers, man, I want to be there on a good day. All right, Bub, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots. You got one more?
Finishing out with Sam Rayburn. That falling water level continues to have the crappie over there stacked up. Those same types of shady spots in 15 to 30 foot of water. And you'll want to fish the timber that's on the drop-off and, of course, the bridge pilings. Now, on the bridges, don't pay too much attention to the bottom depth because on those bridge pilings, those fish will suspend over some really deep water at times. Just let your bait down to whatever depth you're seeing the fish on your electronics and load the boat with those tasty slabs.
All right, Bub, thank you so much. We're going to go take a look at the Middle Fresh hot spots. He says that you want to look at the largemouth bass are on the pads in Richland Chambers and are schooling on Toledo Bend and Sam Rayburn. The crappie are hanging in 15 to 30 feet of water and feeding in the shade on live minnows and light jigs.
All right, guys, we have all you need to know in the Garmin Middle Coast region, not to mention some nifty products with our own Dave over at the workbench. Dave, what do you got for us?
I think these might be crutches for Murphy.
Could be. Absolutely could be. We'll find out more when we come back.
Oh, Dave, that might get you a raise. You need to take that routine on tour.
2 shows a day.
Yeah, baby. I can't remember what it was like to fish without power poles. It's really
I don't have
awesome.
one on my boat. You can come and fish with me anytime.
Okay.
Figure it out. I throw a little anchor over. Anyway, the stiffy push poles are what we're starting with right here.
Yes, sir.
These are handmade, one at a time.
This is a small version, as you said, just
correct.
so we would
exactly.
could see them.
Exactly. That one you got there is the Guide series. It's 100% graphite, non-reflective finish, as you can see there. It's comes 18 feet to 24 feet with a variety of different tips you can get.
You can get on the screw-on tip, and
Correct.
this is replaceable, guys. So if you start to wear this out after pulling on the rocks or on the sand and it starts to wear the point out, then you can certainly get that replaced. And then it's got the mud foot, which is so that...
For softer stuff?
Yeah, for the silty bottom like we experience in the Everglades.
Yeah, it's designed for the professional angler, and it's, it's 2 ounces per foot, so it's incredibly light, that one is, and very stiff and durable. The next one there is the hybrid. It's 3.6 ounces per foot, a little heavier, works a little better in deeper water. It's a graphite and e-glass 80-20 mix,
Right.
And it's incredibly light and durable as well. They also make multi-pieces if you want to travel
Right.
and whatnot, and he'll make custom ones for you as well.
And where do we go to find these?
That's stiffypushpoles.com.
That's correct.
Go get one of those. Everybody should have one.
That's right. Or 2.
We got a Berkeley Bullet Pop here, 70. I love the chugging type of baits that go on the surface, and this is the Berkeley version. Justin Lucas Pro Design. You can either pop this one or walk it. If you keep your line real tight, you can pop it, make it spit. If you do a semi slack line, you can actually walk that thing. It'll walk a little bit for you. It'll pop and walk.
You like it?
I do. I do a variety of colors. Just go to berkeleyfishing.com. They're perfect any top water deal. Comes in a wide variety of colors as well.
Okay, what do we got here, Dave?
Next, we got the Mossy Oak Wellness Package. These are hydrating drinks that do a lot of different things. They have an energy drink, an immune health, a recovery, and a focus. And they all have different stuff in them. The energy drink and the focus drink each have 100 milligrams of caffeine, to wake you up and get you going. Electrolytes, vitamin B6 and B12. And the focus one has a stuff called Cognizant in it. They only have 10 calories. The immune health one has A, B, C, D, and E, folates, selenium, and zinc. So it's like a multivitamin. And what you do is you just take the little package. You can get a little.
Oh boy, here we go,
ball.
Dave.
Yeah,
It's a little late in the night to be hitting up on that caffeine there, buddy.
Yeah, it is.
All right,
This is cherry.
see you in the morning, Dave.
Yeah, it'll be early morning if I drink that. But they taste really good. 12 to 24 ounces. And you just shake it up and you're ready to go.
Did you get that lid on there right now?
I think so.
No.
Okay. It was going to
I'd
spray
be
you.
shaking it up and then it'd
You'd have
ruin
got
my
me.
perfectly beautiful
It probably
Starbucks.
would have got me.
Oh my God, look how beautiful that looks.
It does. It's very
Is
very
that
good.
How's that taste, Dave?
That's the cherry, and it is excellent.
Is this your bottle?
No,
Okay, I don't want to get your cooties.
No.
All right, what else you got from Taco?
Yeah, that's my bottle. Anyway, I got the multi-purpose 15-degree portable cleat, and what this does is it allows you to move a cleat all around your boat. Every place you have a rod holder, now you've got a cleat. It's got that large S-shaped 9-inch cleat up there. It'll hold up to a 3/4-inch dock line. Also has a nice hole there for you to hang a fender over the side.
Correct.
Makes a great little holder for your hose, when you're putting it over the railing and wanting to wash your boat. It comes in a nice little mesh bag that dries, so it fits in all the 1 5/8-inch rod holders. It's just a great little tool.
I
that you
like
can put all around your
the
boat.
Taco Marine stuff. I like it. Fits in there so snug.
Correct.
So there's none of that sloppy.
It's not intended for permanent docking, just to put stuff around and
Correct.
and more up at the restaurant or
Where do
whatever.
we go?
Taco Marine. sportsman.com.
All right, Jamie. Now where do we go, Jamie?
Oh, well, we're going to go wrap things up today in the Garmin Middle Coast with Captain Bink Grimes. So, Bink, give us your words of wisdom for staying on top of our game this week.
I tell you, our summer traffic on the water has subsided with the start of fall semester in schools and colleges, and then hunters prepping for, hunting camp during September. This time of year, we love to wade, and thankfully there's a lot of my customers that like to do that. It's been just a good summer wade, sand and grass in West Bay, mud and shell in East Bay, and guts and bars in the surf. Mid-Bay reefs in East Matagorda Bay turned on this week with light winds on mirror sheep pups, bass assassins, and soft dines. We caught them very, very well this week, wading in about chest-deep water, throwing off the edges of those reefs. Half Moon Reef, Three Beacon, Long Reef. Drifters have found good catches there on live shrimp under a mid-coast popping cork. Also around Boiler Bayou, Raymond Shoals, the Oyster Farm, and Boggy Cut. The August surf has given up a few days, did last week, and our surf is kind of primed to do that this week as well. There's lots of trout still out there. A noisy topwater gets it done this time of year. Trout to 5 pounds. Waders tossing finger mullet, are throwing them in the first gut and doing well. Boaters are tossing live shrimp under a cork, and while artificial guys, they're tossing 51M mirror lures and those mirror lure soft dines. Reefs in San Antonio Bay has been hot with the light winds. They're wading with live bait and posting up on the edges of reefs with finger mullet. Waders closer to Cedar Bayou found fish in the guts on soft plastic and the corkies. And then at Rockport, working the edges of the ICW on live shrimp and figgy perch, as well as those double D baits, soft plastics worked along the edges, have worked well around the shrimp boat channel. Top waters have been good on the Lydia Ann channel, especially with swollen tides. And then right there around the jetty at Port Aransas, trout on finger mullet and freeline shrimp has been good there, as well as the Freeport, Surfside, and Quintana jetties. Redfish action has been good in West Matagorda Bay, according to guide Brett Sweeney. He's been producing limits of redfish while anchoring over mud on the incoming tide. Guide Albert Garrison reported good catches of reds along the grass line on the north shoreline. Some of those reds are beginning to school, and the birds are kind of pointing away over the top of those big schools of 25 to 50 redfish. Waders found redfish later in the morning down in West Bay on Bass Assassins. Guide Kendall Kerr said he's worked birds over schooling redfish in East Bay with gold spoons. More reds are showing along the shorelines with the higher tides. We've got some low pressure in the Gulf right now, so our tides are really bulling up, and that's a boon for redfish, especially in those back lakes. The jetty turned on for good catches of redfish in Matagorda, Freeport, Port O'Connor, and the Port Aransas. Mullet, piggy perch, and large table shrimp have worked best. There's also a lot of redfish on the south shoreline of Espiritu Santo Bay. The back lakes in Port O'Connor, like Pringle and Shoalwater, have been producing on small topwaters as well. And then right now, the bull redfish action along the beach front has been been really, really good. Beach anglers, they've tossed crabs and mullet in the first gut, and man, those big old redfish are in there, because also those big old 6 to 8 count shrimp are still on the beach front, and those redfish are gorging on them. Photo there, that's an oversized redfish we quickly released back to West Matagorda Bay after a spirited fight. We got in the back lakes this past week and really did well on redfish. With the boon and calm seas we've had, our kingfish action has been good, according to Mike Segal of Real Thrill Charters. That he's been larger king's been found in deeper water around those Gulf shrimp boats while trolling. Spanish mackerels have done well. Some kingfish are showing around the Freeport and Port O'Connor jetty as well. Our water temperature running about 87 degrees, and those green tides really bring those kings in tighter to the beach. And Matagorda, guide Michael Quebecus of the kingfish have been around the shrimp boats in 200 foot of water. He's been tasting swordfish and tile as well, 60 to 80 miles off the boat, with lots of really nice wahoo, dorado, and amberjack as well. And then at Port Aransas, those great catches of kingfish and amberjack and tuna have been good on the overnight trips. Our tarpon have been hit or miss around Port O'Connor, Matagorda. It just hasn't been a steady bite. You can get one here, one there. Just hadn't been real consistent. We're still waiting for them to show up, but we know they will eventually show up.
I gotta go, bub. We're gonna read the Middle Coast hotspots from the Marilure hotspots. He says trout are good while waiting. The super flats near Rockport, soft dines and bass assassins. Redfish action's good, and Crab Lake on some shrimp.
Very nice.
You know, Jamie, he mentioned kingfish, and I know you just fished in a kingfish tournament. How'd you do?
I did. We got about 6 teenagers, so I was very proud of myself with only 2 people on our boat. So, and I did most of the catching. So
good.
You know,
well,
right?
Keep up the good work.
Well, let's wrap it up and get out of here. Let's go see Brie. What do you say?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
See you tuned.